What's going on, everybody? C4 here today, bringing you the debut episode of the North Dakota State Bison Dynasty here on NCAA 14. A lot of you guys have been clamoring for me to bring out the old Xbox 360 and start playing some NCAA again. Any of you OGs that were still here 4 or 5 years ago, well, that wouldn't have been 4 or 5. It would have been 4, right? 4 years ago when I did my Miami Hurricane NCAA 14 Dynasty, when NCAA was actually like, a new game. Shout out to all those guys. So yeah, we're starting this up. I get you guys to vote between Florida and North Dakota State, and it was just a landslide. I think, including Twitter, there's probably 400 or 500 votes on this one, which is great feedback. I hope you guys do like this series. I'm gonna try to look for inspiration. I know Mr. Hurricane has a really popular series, so I'm gonna kind of see his style of format, what he kind of does, and try to do that, and then make sure I put my own twist on things. So yeah, plus shout out to Mr. Hurricane. He's the OG of doing this shit. But we have North Dakota State, and we have plenty of things to jump into here in the debut episode. First thing is first, we will start with the schedule. We'll look at the schedule first, and then we'll look into our actual depth chart, who we have working for us, and then we'll finish with our scouting, and then hopefully we can get to game one in this episode. So looking at our start the schedule, we're starting out with an F. What I did was I replaced UAB with North Dakota State. UAB is now a defunct program, even though I think they're trying to make a comeback. So it may not have been the smartest decision to throw us in that conference because it is fairly weak. And obviously the end goal for this is going to want to be winning the championship, or at least trying to get to the championship. But we threw in Iowa once again. Everyone should remember last season North Dakota State in real life actually upset ranked Iowa. I think they were ranked 13 or 14 or something like that. So I mean, North Dakota State, I want to try to hype this up before you look at the overalls on my depth chart. There are a couple players on North Dakota State that are going to get drafted in the NFL, that are currently on this roster. You'll see them, but they're really good. North Dakota State is a team that could certainly handle their own in FBS competition. I know they're in the FCS, but I mean, multiple titles there. I think they said, like, the only reason why they don't want to make the transition is because of the financial requirement. They have to make the stadium bigger. There's a long list of reasons why they won't do it, but in terms of talent, they could compete with, I'm going to say there's what, 100, and we'll just say there's 130 teams included in this game. I'd say North Dakota State definitely could beat, or at least compete with, 90, 85, 90 of the teams that are included in that. Maybe even more, maybe even 100. So they are going to be a competitive team. I don't know what our overall is. I think our overall is like 73, 74, which I think that's fairly appropriate. But yeah, Iowa's our big game. We also have Auburn here in week number 7 is going to be a big one. A couple openings. Best believe we included UTEP in our schedule here. For those of you guys that follow me on Twitter, we're gonna fuck up UTEP. I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna lay on an absolute whooping on UTEP that's never been seen before. But yeah, then we got the conference championship here. Overall, I mean, I don't like that we can't adjust the second half of the season, which kind of sucks. But for the most part, I mean, once we get our team established, we have enough weeks here. Potentially, we have 7 free weeks. We should get that on every single season. That we should be able to schedule ranked competition. I think 7 wins against ranked competition, plus, if we dominate, there's a potential that we can make a dynasty here in North Dakota State. So that is our schedule. It's an F, all right? It's an F. There's no other way to get around an F, but we're easing things in. I haven't played this game in quite some time. We want to make this first season here. It's a trial run to see if we need to do any more tweaking. We quickly will look at our depth chart, and actually what I'm going to do is pop up the stats from last season of these players so you can get to know them. So we have Easton Stick here, 81 overall quarterback, a sophomore. He's actually very, very good, very, very touted. I already think he's, if you look at a lot of the pre-draft, look for like 2019, 2020, he's listed in the top 10 quarterbacks. Last season for North Dakota State, he finished with 2,300 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions, as well as 792 rushing yards and 7 rushing touchdowns. So very much a dual-threat quarterback, and he has good accuracy. Carson Wentz has ranted and raved about him, so I'm confident giving him an 81 overall. We have Davis here with a 68 and Hendricks 63. Look at the running back spot. We have King Frazier, who we gave a 78 overall. Last season, King Frazier had 885 yards in 12 games started to go along with 11 rushing touchdowns. So he is very much the smash to the dash known as Lance Dunn, who we're going to actually bump up one spot here over Anderson. Lance Dunn, we gave him a 75 overall. Last season, he had only 2 starts, featured in 14 games in a 2-headed running back attack. He had 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. So, you know, slight change of pace back, even though his stats aren't great. So, we have Bruce Anderson, sorry, here, 70, and Brown, 64. Fullback here, we have Morlock with a 64. Actually, let's get out of this screen. Let's go to just the roster. It's a little bit easier to look around there. Then again, I don't know, maybe we could, actually, no, we'll stay in this. We'll keep it raw, baby. I want to make sure that my roster is set up the way I like it to. At the wide receiver spot, we have Darius Shepard, who we gave a 76 overall last season. Darius Shepard finished with 45 receptions, 642 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Led the team as a sophomore. So I think 76 overall is a fair starting point. We have R.J. Urzendowski, who we gave a 74 overall last season. He had 31 catches, 530 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And then we have the senior Eric Perkins. We gave him a 71 overall. I can't really find his stats right now, but he's the veteran there. He was there with Carson Wentz, so we'll give him a nice, decent overall. All right, we have Connor Wentz. We have Carson Wentz's brother, who's a tight end wide receiver hybrid. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to leave him because, you know, you get the Wentz name there, but we'll have to wait and see. And then we got a couple 60 overall wide receivers here in Williams and Bridges. At the tight end spot, we have Jeff Ills, who we gave a 70 overall last season. Jeff Ills had 20 catches, 260 yards, and 5 touchdowns, so he's a nice little red zone threat, even though, you know, the 6'3", 230, that's not, you know, your red zone type build for a tight end. And then we have Connor Wentz here, 69, and Ellison, 67. Offensive line is not great. We have Colin Connor, we gave a 69. He's starting at left tackle. Left guard is Tanner Volson, 65. Center is Austin Kunhert. Probably Kunert. Kunert, 70 overall, but Kunhert sounds better. Right guard, we have Jack Planker, 73 overall. And at right tackle, we have Landon Leckler, who we gave a 77 overall. He expects to, I'm pretty sure, get drafted. I was just looking at draft websites and seeing what North Dakota states were getting mentioned. And we have Leckler here. I don't know if he already declared because he is a senior, which could make this a little bit awkward. But we'll see. He's 77 overall, regarded as the best offensive lineman there in North Dakota. On the defensive side of the ball, we have Brad Ambrosius, who we gave a 77 overall. This is really tough to actually grade out these defensive players because some of these guys have godly-looking stats in comparison. So last year, Brad Ambrosius started in all 14 games. He had 40 total tackles, 10 tackles for loss to go on with 6.5 sacks and 3 pass deflections. So I think 77, that's a fair starting point, making the, you know, kind of deduction on their overall because of the jump in competition. At right defensive end, we have Greg Menard, who we gave an 82 overall, the second 80 you were going to see so far on my rosters. Last year, Greg Menard had 14 starts, 62 tackles, 15.5 tackles for loss to go, along with 11 sacks. My God, 2 forced fumbles. Oh, he's a big-time playmaker, the junior. I'm expecting big things from him. So that's why we kept him at 82. He's a beast. Looking at the defensive tackle spot, we have Nathan Tanguay, who we gave a 73 overall last season. He featured in 9 games, 31 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, and half a sack. And the rest is not looking too great. We're going to have to work on the defensive line here for sure. Looking at the left outside linebacker, we have Pierre G. Tucker. Great name. Featured in 12 games last year, had 74 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks to go along with, I think he had 2 fumbles, 2 forced fumbles. So 75 is a good starting point there for the senior. At middle linebacker, we have Nick DeLuca, who we gave a 79 overall. He was on the Buckus short list. He was the only FCS linebacker to get on that short list, which is for and awarded to the best linebacker in college football. Only featured in 3 games last season, had an injury, but in those 3 games, he had 26 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 1 pick, 6 interception. So he's really, really good when healthy, so I'm expecting him to have a nice season. And at right outside linebacker, we have MJ Stumpf, who we gave a 77 overall last season in 14 games, led the team with 85 tackles. He had 13.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks to go along with 2 interceptions and 5 pass deflections. So good at bringing guys down behind the line of scrimmage and fairly solid and fairly productive in the passing game. Jumping to the secondary, ooh, this is going to be tough. I remember this game. If you didn't have good corners, you were going to get burnt. But we have Jalen Allison, who we gave a 78 overall last season. Jalen Allison started in all 14 games, had 66 tackles. He had 1.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks, and 4 interceptions to go along with 12 pass deflections. You're looking at a lot of FCS websites right now. They are touting him as potentially the top cornerback in FCS next season. So I think 78 is a good starting point, but everyone else is kind of a slouch here. Wimbush, Kelly McCoy, and Fort. Jumping to the safety zone, we're having great safety play. I don't know how he shot up to an 85 because I had his base overall as an 81. Maybe that's because of the scheme. I don't know if that's like that scheme. Maybe we'll have to retweak it again. I originally had him as an 81 or 82. No higher. I didn't have anyone over 85. But we have Trey Dempsey, who we gave an 85 overall, I guess. But that will be tweaked. Last season, though, really great stats from a safety. He started in 14 games. He had 53 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, 6 interceptions to go along with 7 pass breakups and 13 pass deflections. I mean, those are crazy, crazy numbers for a safety to be making. So, you know, high overall, 85, we're going to have to tweak that a little bit because I don't know, unless it's just because I'm looking at it from the depth chart. His base roster, I'm 99% sure I gave him an 82. And then at strong safety, yeah, these are definitely jumping up. We have Robbie Grimsley, who I for sure gave an 80 overall, but they gave him an 84 here in terms of the depth chart. Last season, Grimsley had 14 starts, 84 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 sack, 5 interceptions to go along with 6 pass deflections. So this safety tandem here for North Dakota State is definitely the strength of this roster. We have a 78 overall kicker and a 77 overall punter. So that is our roster as it stands right now. But I don't really know why the overalls have got tweaked so much. We'll have to double check that again, maybe when we get closer to game time. So now we will look here at the prospects. We have the recruiting board. Oh, recruiting. I am rusty as hell. I don't remember a lot of the tricks and stuff like that. But I don't think I actually like the way they actually look at the recruiting board. So I want to look at this for the players that I've decided to target. Come on, show me them. Show me the guys does it show me the players I want to target? There we go. We'll just use this one. So we're looking at Leroy Studer at the quarterback spot, a 3-star QB, projected rating to be a 68. And projected, I mean, you have to actually scout them because sometimes they go way down. Sometimes they can occasionally go up. But he looks like a nice little do-threat quarterback with a 4.7, 4.40. 68 overall. It's not too bad. We got a couple other options here if we want to get outside our comfort zone. I mean, we got a 4-star QB who has us at number 9. But we've used up all 35 on our preseason recruiting board. He's a guy maybe we'll keep an eye on. But, I mean, we have Easton Stick. He's not really that old. I think he's a sophomore, so he's definitely going to be able to get a couple more seasons out of him. At the running back spot, we have a couple options here. We're going with this guy right here who has us as a number 4th, Ryan White from Paris, Texas. I don't see really, I mean, SMU is the only in-state rival that we have to kind of worry about. So, yeah, I mean, we have a couple options here. Obviously, we're not going to get too many highly regarded prospects. Fullback, who gives a shit. Wide receiver, we have some actually solid wide receivers. Look at this. 2 4-star wide receivers have us as their first team of interest. Bunch of wide receivers, man. We're going to get some of these guys. Even if we don't scout them, they're probably just that desire to come to this prolific offense of South Dakota State. But we have Bush. We have Claude Jones here. We also have Ken Pearson, the 4.3, 840. We need a burner. He's 6'4". I mean, this guy here is going to be a monster. He is a big-time player that I want to get. Might even prioritize him over some of the 4-star recruits there. And then we also have Tim Woods, 4-star recruit who has this as their number 2. Then we have Clint Barrett, 4-star, who has this as their number 3. At the tight end spot, I think we only have one yet. Willie Clark, who has this as his number 1, projected to be around that 70 grade. Tackle, we have to get better on the offensive line, so I'm going to try my best to recruit the tackles. We have a 3-star guy here who has this as number 1. We have a 3-star guy who has his number 4, but like his current projected overall is 71, so he's a guy we want to deep dive. That's great size though for a tackle, 6'7", 332. Guard is fine. We have, look at this, 3 guys projected to be in the 70s, all has us at the number 1, but we need to get better in the interior for sure, as you saw by just going through the depth chart. At center spot, we have one guy here, Dallas Jacobs, 3-star, who has this as a number 1, so that's going to be easy mode. We have at defensive end, Greg Cobbs, a 3-star, who has this as a number 1. Don't think we had anyone else here. Maybe Peoples was one, 4-star, just because he's from Iowa, I think. That's why. That's a real state that I want to establish as a pipeline. So he's a guy, we're going to try to get ambitious and try to get this 4-star recruit from Iowa, because it's time that we need to start dominating those pipeline states around us. Defensive tackle here, we have Justin Webster, a 1-star, or 3-star, sorry, that's projected to be a 70 overall. He's our number 1. I'm not too concerned. I mean, defensive tackle is actually a decent position of concern. Maybe this guy here, Nick Simmons, projected to be a 68. Could be worth diving in, and maybe some guys start to drop off the wagon. Outside linebacker, we have a bunch of options here at outside linebacker, which is kind of crazy. So we're going to try to at least go with the highest overall guys to start, and then we can start wheeling some guys down here. So we have Jason Weber from South Dakota, 68 overall, 3-star recruit. We also have Jason Cantrell, a 3-star recruit from, I don't even know where MI is. Is that Mississippi? Ironwood, Mississippi. That's pretty cool. He is our number 1. He's a guy we're going to keep an eye on. At middle linebacker, we have Michael Walden, a 3-star from California, Diamond Bar, California, 69 overall. I'm not super worried about our linebacking core right now. I'd say if you looked at our roster, linebackers are probably the best or like strongest depth after the safeties. We had a couple corners here, 68, 60. I mean, they're short guys, 5'9" and 5'10", but they're interested. All right, it's tough to get some good corners here, but at least they are interested. We have another guy here, Adam Cook, a white guy. I remember that was the worst thing about this is there's plenty of white corners, even though, I mean, you know, I don't want to turn this into a race thing, but there's not many white corners. I don't think there's any white corners in college football right now. So, I mean, if I draft any of those guys, I will have to modify them a little bit. Free safety here, we have Colt Mathis, a 3-star, projected to be around 70. I'm interested. And then actually here too, this is actually one of the bigger guys. Because I am a Canadian coach, background-wise, we have Reggie Snyder here from Regina, Canada. 75 overall, 4-star recruit, best believe, 4.40 speed. We're going to be trying our best to get Reggie Snyder very, very hard. He's going to be maybe one of our main targets to try to flip and get some interest to come to South Dakota. Strong safety here. We have a couple options, but I mean, I'm not too worried. And special teams, we kind of left that as is. Athletes, though, look at this. A 4-star athlete wants us. We're our number 1 interest, so we got to make sure we maintain that. He's 5'11", 178, so I'm probably going to be like a slot wide receiver, I guess, with that 4.40 speed. But look at that bench press. That's pretty good bench press. That could be linebacker, maybe. I'm not exactly sure. Very interested, though. I'm glad he has us as his number 1. We also have Mark Ryan here, another 3-star who has us as first interest. 68 overall, 6'4", 205. That's probably a QB. QB, I guess. Maybe wide receiver, potentially. Then we got a 4-star here who has us as our number 2. 6'6", 265. I mean, I'm very interested in him as well from Minnesota. And then we have this guy here, Nicholas Neal, currently projected 5 stars. So he has this number at 3, a 76 overall. 6'2", 210, 4.60 speed. Maybe a QB. Maybe the potential successor to Easton Stick. We will have to wait and see. But that is our preseason scouting board. So, all that, I don't know what else we should probably look through. I think that's it. We did the depth chart. We did the scouting board. We showed the schedule. I think it's about time to jump right in. There's our head coach, Tyson Mack. He may look familiar. He was the running back we were maybe going to use in our Devin Wade Road to Glory. Tyson Mack is now going to be pretty much my go-to creative guy, as it's inspired by my son. We have Brian Kelly, no relation probably to the Notre Dame Brian Kelly, and Tyler Brown, really rounding out our coaching staff. We're obviously, every episode, when we get points to upgrade our coaching skill tree, we'll be using that. But without further ado, I think it's about time to jump into the first game and try to, knock some of the dust off of my NCAA football skill tank. Let's go.